Hello, friend. Season
4.
The Mystical American Patriot Society is transmitting to you from a high desert encampment on the frontier of our agrarian hoplite republic. This is a variety program for happy warriors who are getting some seriously bad vibes from the deranged post-Christian technocracy. Grab a tankard of yak's milk and join us by the campfire as Sumo and Cavi return to shake your surveillance, expel your parasites, and generally have a good time. Are you ready? Stand by.
Mystical American Patriot Society, now available in 3 dimensions.
Hello, everyone. Cavi, can you sound like a choir of European children?
No.
Is that a talent? Can you? If I need
I
you.
could insert some sound effects, maybe.
No, it needs to be honest. I don't like it. Where this is not an AI produced program. No, okay. So I'm gonna, just for levity, this has nothing to do with what we're talking about today, but I needed to lighten the mood a bit because the thing is, we're going to talk about some things that people are going to be upset about today. Mostly women, and I don't mean it that way. I'm just trying, I'm trying to help women is the thing. I'm trying to help women and everybody. This is a thing for helping everyone, not just women. But I needed to. So if you can say, I'm going to say Bilbo as in Bilbo Baggins, and when I say Bilbo, can you go Bilbo like a choir of children?
Sure, we'll give it a shot.
All right, give it a real quick test run. Bilbo.
Bilbo.
Try to sing it the sing song of me. Like match my cadence and notes. Bilbo.
Bilbo.
There you go. Good. All right, so just try to do that whenever you hear me say Bilbo. Okay? This is not a good song, but it's not a good song just on purpose. In the middle of the earth, in a land of the Shire, lives a brave little hobbit whom we all admire. With a long wood pipe, fuzzy wuzzy toes, lives in a hobbit hole and everybody knows he's Bilbo. Bilbo. Bilbo Baggins, only 3 feet tall. He's Bilbo. Bilbo. Bilbo Baggins, bravest little hobbit of them all. Now the hobbits are peace-loving folk, They don't like to hurry and they take things slow. Imagine how low the bar was in 1964 for this to be a song that people put on a record.
People paid money for this?
People paid money for this. It was in record stores and you could buy it, and people did. Now, they don't like to travel far away from home. They just want to eat and be left alone. Bilbo Baggins, he's only 3 feet tall. Bilbo, you're a little slow. Bilbo Baggins, bravest little hobbit of them. Who do you think sings that song? I think you know because you saw me post about it, but did you see?
Oh, is that Leonard Nimoy?
Leonard Nemoy, Mr. Spock, the original Mr. Spock. Now being played, that character, by Ethan Peck. And I got to say, maybe Ethan's doing it better. He's really knocking it out of the park in the latest Star Trek series. But anyway, no shade to Leonard Nimoy. I love Leonard Nimoy. R.I.P. But Leonard, I don't know. He was never
died?
happy. Go ahead.
I didn't even know he was sick.
Oh, I know that, but here is the little pictures of this. Again, this is internet. This is MAPSOC International Women's Day. We have Women's Day on a different day than in the main world calendar. This is our Women's Day, and our Women's Day we berate women, not because on our Women's Day we berate women out of love. Does that make sense, Kevy? Is that tracking with you?
Sounds good.
Yeah. We're going to...
Sounds like every day.
Well, I just feel women are very gassed up in our culture. They talk about themselves all the time. People talk about how great they are. But when you talk about some of the women problems, and this is not me, I'm going to preface this by saying that everything I'm going to say, you can say, what about the men's contribution to these problems as well? And I fully acknowledge that it's a two-way street, as I've done every single show we've ever done. This is not just women's problems. Men are equally guilty of all these things. Well, maybe not equally, but they're also guilty. More guilty in some, less than others. But every time people want to bring up anything in our culture today, they like to say, well, but also the other, like if you talk about Black people in a negative way, something that Black people as a collective are doing, or Black culture, there's always a tendency and a need for people to go, and also white people do this sometimes, and Mexican or whatever. And so anytime you talk about women, you got people go, men too, but we don't need to do that every time. Sometimes it can just be your problem, listener. Sometimes you can just hold a problem. There's holding space for people, and there's also holding space for problems and guilt. And sometimes you just need to sit with your own guilt without saying, but also you're guilty too. Now just resist that urge. I'm acknowledging up front. Anytime you feel the urge to say, but men, all ... Yes, but stop yourself and just let the guilt sit in your own heart. Take the guilt into your own soul. Okay, we don't have to every time go through this rigmarole of, yeah, but what about the men say this? What about the white people? What about Christian when they did the 9/11 or whatever? I don't know. We don't have to do that every time. We can just sometimes sit with our own badness without outsourcing it to everyone else. And so at times in this show, I'm going to sound maybe a little bit like Pastor Anderson. Not really. This guy up here giving a Nazi salute from a pulpit with a Bible in front of a interestingly chosen backdrop of a painted meadow or a hill. Hillock? A meadow's a field. That's a hill. But I guess a field can also be on a hill. I don't know. Are you familiar with Pastor Anderson, Mr. Cavey?
Yeah, I definitely recognize that picture from various clips. I don't think I've ever seen any of his full stuff, but I've definitely seen some of the probably out of context crazy clips.
Well, let me tell you something. They're often not out of context. He is an insane man. It's fun to watch for that reason. But, I just realized you're kind of like, you're kind of like our Spock, aren't you? You're kind of a Spock. You're very rational. You don't get overly emotional.
I kind of am, yep.
Yeah, you're kind of our Spock. That's true. And I'm kind of a Captain Kirk, really, kind of irrational, going by the seat of my pants, emotional. And that's where we make a great team. But my point is, I'm going to be a little like not. But see, the thing is, he has hate in his heart, heartred. He has hatred in his heart, his heartred, towards people, and he's generally mad. I'm not. Okay, I want you all to know that. And so this slide has a picture of Anderson on there. It's a happy MAPSOC International Women's Day. Yes, women are the problem. There's also a little thing that says liquid modernity at the top. And then a nice picture of a black man on a bus reading a big book called Why Women Deserve Less, which is fun. But again, everyone calm down, especially if you're a woman, because this is just, I just know that you guys, meaning you girls, you women, have had years and years of every time anyone says anything negative about you, being defensive and saying, well, men also are a problem. But sometimes we don't need to do that. And sometimes we just need to sit with, no, I'm the problem. Sometimes you just need to sit with your side of the problem without being defensive about other people's problems. And the problems we have in society today are everybody's problem and everyone contributes. But today we're going to focus on your part of the problem. And that doesn't mean the other parts of the problem don't exist or the other people aren't guilty. And maybe they'll get their own episode one day. But today we're going to sit with your part of this. We're holding space for your problem. We're holding space for the parts of you which are problematic. We are giving voice to all the reasons that you do wrong. Okay? And that's fine. I'm not asking you to change. I'm not asking you to do anything. I'm just asking you to sit with it and hold. Can you hold space with me, Cabby? Can we hold space together?
I'm trying.
Okay, I want you to reach out. Cabby's reaching out his two cat arms now. And I'm reaching out my arms across cyberspace.
Grab some space.
And everyone, I want, if you're a listener, especially if you're a Whammon listener, reach out your arms as well. And we're all across cyberspace. We're holding hands in a big care circle of love. And in the middle of the circle is the space. And that's where the problem is going to sit. That's where your problem is going to sit. And that's where we're gonna look at it, and we're not gonna shun it. We're just gonna look at it and say, yep, that's your problem. Okay? That's all. There's lots of love here. So much love. The place smells of lavender and lilac. It smells like a candle shop on a nice little historic alleyway in Massachusetts. That's what it smells like. And the people in the circle are all very caring, and we're wearing Lululemon, and everyone is nice, and we all, it's a place of love, but it is a place for problems and to look at them. Okay, but before we do that, just because I know it's heavy, I want to talk about Star Trek, the bizarre crossover between Tolkien, Lord of the Rings, and Star Trek, which did happen in real life. Because, Tolkien died in the 70s after Star Trek, the original series, was put out, and he had some awareness of it and hated it, as you might realize. It's like everything he didn't like, right? He was Mr. Anti-Technology. He was mad at trains coming through his neighborhood. He wrote a whole letter to someone like, they're putting those blasted trains along the way, and there goes the silence forever. Hated cars, wanted to ride a horse and buggy. The penultimate trad guy, liked fantasy, magic, that sort of stuff. And then Star Trek is the opposite of that, which is it's basically a vision of the future, which is technological messianism. The Messiah is technology, and it saves everything, right? Exact opposite of Tolkien's beliefs. But for whatever reason, I think Leonard Nemoy really enjoyed. First, he after Star Trek, he never really found a lot of success because he wasn't a good actor, really. But he played a character whose role was don't have emotion, which is pretty easy. Just don't show any emotion. That's a pretty easy role. It's like, all right, your job, your characters have a stone face that shows no emotion at all and speak speak monotone all the time. It's a pretty easy acting role. And he didn't, but he, after you're Spock, you can't really go do something else. Yet it's a terrible catch-22. Like, you don't have, after you're Spock, you can't go do something else now. You have to be in that space, but he wasn't really good at it. So he tried his hand at all kinds of things. He did eventually find some success in the show In Search Of, which was like a early episode where they talked about strange stuff, Loch Ness Monster and whatever. And he had his nice Spock voice that he would provide voiceover to. But he tried his hand at making music. He was a guitarist. He played pretty good guitar. I will give him that. But he didn't sing very well. And the songs he wrote were not the best. But one of them was the Ballad of Bilbo Baggins, which I just played a little bit for you. And he had a bunch of like 70s, 20-year-olds and teenagers dance around in like weird, I'm not sure what they were going the vibe here, but orange and yellow and green sweaters doing weird motions, and they got some sort of print on them, but it just kind of is like I don't know what it is. And he made everyone else in this video have pointed ears because elves and hobbits do the hobbits have pointed ears? I forget. I think they do. Or is that
no,
just
they don't.
No, just elves. So for whatever reason, he made them have pointed ears. And he said, in this show, I'm not having pointed ears because I spent my whole career having pointed ears. Now you have pointed ears and I have normal ears. And this, he wrote this in America and it got its way across the pond to England, where Tolkien saw it and heard this awful music. And he was so mad. He wanted to sue Leonard Nemoy for copyright infringement. But of course, writing a song about a character in a book isn't a copyright infringement either here or the UK. So there was nothing to do about it. But he hired some lawyers to look hard and see if there's any way he could get this pulled from the shelves, but he wasn't able to. And so it was just this may have been the thing that killed him, honestly. This may have been the start of, because if you're Tolkien, this is the thing artists don't understand. And Tolkien was an artist, but he didn't have an artist's soul. He had a poetic philosopher soul and an academic soul. And in the world of academia, you can police a lot of your content. There's a lot of walls, literal paywalls to access it on journals. And also everyone has to cite you all the time. But in the world of art, once you put something out there, it just kind of is for whatever anybody wants to do with it, almost, outside of directly reproducing it. And he was so mad when Lord of the Rings began to get popular. He was so angry of the kind of people. You can't pick your audience. That's the thing. I wish I could. Not that I don't love you guys. I do. But like I've told you before, the messages we get sometimes from people are completely unhinged. And a lot of you are normal hinged. But we do attract a brand of person who talks about, they saw a house burn down and they emailed me and said, it must have been a laser from space. That kind of person. And so I can't pick the audience. I love the audience that shows up. And you can't pick your audience. That's the number one thing you have to learn as an artist. You make your stuff and whoever shows up. That's it. And Tolkien thought in many ways the wrong people were reading his work. He would have been fine, I think, honestly, if just C.S. Lewis had read it and like a few other people. I really do think he'd have been like, if C.S. Lewis and the other Inklings and people around that his some highfalutin Catholic trads had read it, and that he'd have been fine. But it took off to his chagrin, and for Cavi, can you imagine his horror at finding it becoming popular in America? Can you?
Shocking.
I mean, Tolkien's disdain for American culture, finding out that his book became popular in America. Oh, God. And then, like, Led Zeppelin was singing about it. I think he lived to see Led Zeppelin sing a couple of songs. I'm not sure. But, I mean, imagine. It's like taken up by metal bands or proto-metal bands. Like, Oh, and Leonard Nimoy from Star Trek is singing a Bilbo Baggins song. God, he just probably wanted to kill himself, and maybe that's. But it's ironic that he, because Spock got away with, Nimoy got away with milking the character of Spock outside of Star Trek real hard for the rest of his career. He produced albums where he was Mr. Spock's Music from Outer Space. And, he could have probably been sued for copyright infringement, but he never was. So, yeah, that is a real crossover with, and that's part of Tolkien's, and that's a lot of you trads too, honestly. You make something, then if you get here's the success defeats you. This is a problem with a lot of the right wing. They spend years producing these ideas, and then they become popular and go, people aren't using the idea right. And I know they never do. They never do. I write articles. I just published a book, by the way. It'll be in the links in the description. It's called Theology with a Sphere, Volume 1. It's very, very good. It's life-changing. People have given rave reviews. One of the people said this book has so many pearls in it, pearls of wisdom, that clams are protesting its publication. I mean, it's the reviews have been off the charts. People love it. Everyone loves it. It's life-changing. Go buy it. But I can't, once you've made something, you can't choose. But even when I do that, when I write things and I make these shows, people take away, oftentimes they take away what I want them to, which is great. And oftentimes they don't. And they take away something totally different. And you can't do anything about it. When you put an idea out in the universe, it just goes, it's like a child. You can nurture it, but once it's grown up and on its own, it just chooses its own path. It makes relationships with people you never really wanted them to. And, that's just the nature of it. Once you've produced an idea into the world, it just is off on its own, and you have to be okay with that. That's one of the reasons the right wing doesn't have success, is because they're always trying to police the idea back into like the way they wanted it. But it doesn't work. You can't do it. Leonard Nimoy, or Tolkien rather, suffered from that greatly. He was a great proto-trad in that way. I just put this in here. Shatner beat Leonard Nimoy in everything all the time, and he was always jealous. Nimoy was always jealous of William Shatner. It was the fight of two Jews because they're both Jewish. Not that I think it was only one-sided. Leonard Nimoy had immense jealousy for Shatner, and Shatner, it was that meme of the guy from in the elevator who goes, "I don't think about you at all." Not that he would. I mean, they were friends their whole lives, but I don't think Shatner ever even realized how much he was mogging Leonard Nimoy. I mean, he had success after success. Think about it. He's still alive, by the way. Isn't that crazy? Star Trek. He was a grown man with had to dye his hair because it was turning gray to play Captain Kirk in the 60s, and he's still around. And he produced a metal album this year. Crazy. He's 95, still producing stuff.
Yeah, Patrick Stewart too.
Patrick Stewart, although Patrick Stewart is only in his late 80s now. He's not even Patrick Stewart also. All the captains do great.
Yeah, really. He was old already.
He was old when he started, yeah. I mean, he when Next Generation finished, I think he was in his early to mid 50s. Anyway, but yeah, he started. William Shatner started Boston Legal, a whole other show that he was really popular on when he was like 73. 73, and you start another iconic series. That's crazy. And then he had The Unexplained, which was very similar to In Search Of, that Nimoy did earlier in the 70s. And he did that like when he was 89. And he's still his albums are actually good. And it's painful even as a fan that because it shouldn't be, because he doesn't sing. He just does his William Shatner talking. And then, but he figured out a way to do it where some of his songs you go, okay, that was pretty good, actually. Not all of them, but some of them you go, that was pretty good. And you're like, I wish it wasn't really good, but it is. And whereas Nimoy, there's not really one song that you can point to, Rigo. I want to hear that one again. Except maybe the couple where they did this album Spaced Out with Shatner and Leonard Nimoy together for the Imagination Station. whatever that was. And even in that, Shatner played better guitar than he did. Oh, can you imagine? Poor Leonard Nimoy, always living in the shadow of William Shatner, both on the show and then for the rest of your life afterwards. And then you die before he did. It's tough out there. But yeah, it's very possible that Leonard Nimoy caused the death of Tolkien. I think when he saw this and he saw people dancing around with pointed ears and a yellow sweater and an orange sweater and someone going, he's only 3 feet tall, he said, I'm just out. I think that's possible. All right, let's get to women. Happy International Women's Day. Yes, women are the problem. Okay, not really. Again, I'm just going through what I said at the beginning. But this is important. Why? But Sumo, this is a woman's voice. Can you do a woman's voice? Let's give it a try. You were pretty good at the children.
But Sumo, a woman and a cat.
Yeah. But yeah, that was pretty good. But you know, Sumo, but why would you need to do this? Because Tiffany, society depends on women taking some degree of responsibility for their actions, which means that we are all doomed because this absolutely will not happen. They will never do this. They will never do this in mass. There's all these memes about it. Here's a meme of Goku labeled women dodging punches, labeled accountability. And it's 100% true. Every time you bring up something that women as a collective do, which is why I'm holding space. And why we're all being calm. Every time people go, no, well, but see, but men can't talk about women's problems. They don't know what. Despite the fact that women never feel that way in the reverse, they never feel they don't have a room to speak about men's problems. Never. But they constantly are like, no, but this and that. Okay. Sometimes it's necessary to blame women for the sole reason that they're reflexively averse to blame. That's why you have to. Taking blame is a muscle, and you got to exercise it. Otherwise, you never can. You never can. You know, you got this is what we're doing. And look how happy this woman is in this place. She's so happy to be sitting with her blame. She's so happy. She's got a frock on and she's in front of some flowers and she's like, hey, tell me all the ways that I'm wrong. And we will. And she is learning to take some accountability, some responsibility for her actions so that society, culture, families, the world can be saved so that we can stop climate change and other things. Okay, so we're going to talk about this is centers a lot on the fertility rate because what got me thinking about this was women's responses, and no one in particular. Some women that I've recently interacted with are going to think you're talking about me. No, I'm not. And I hear you out there. I see your face contorting and being like, yes, you are. No, you're not. No, I'm not. This is about I started thinking about this because of how women approach the question of collapsing fertility rates and how they get very defensive about it and the way men talk about it as a problem. Not totally without reason, but we're sitting with your problem right now. Okay. Men also have a problem. They have a lot of problems too. But right now we're sitting with your problem. Okay. So first, is collapsing fertility rates even a problem? So fertility rates are far below replacement in all of the Western world, most of the Eastern world, and are sinking rapidly in the quote-unquote underdeveloped world as well. Is this a problem? Here's a picture of, it's an animation. It's not really an animation. It's a graphic of spermatozoa approaching an ovum and some plants growing for fertility. And the answer to that is both not at all, it's not a problem at all, and also it's a catastrophe. It depends entirely on how society approaches it and the ability of people to be honest about what it means and the consequences and what kind of things we'd have to respond to. Now, so is it a problem? And the answer would be not at all if people were mature enough to talk about the problems, but they're not. And I think everyone knows they're not. So what's happening is a catastrophe. Okay. Because look at this graph here. There's a graph. It's got spending of the government, and it starts in 1970. 3 years before Tolkien died, I think. and maybe 6 years after Bilbo Baggins, the Ballad of Bilbo Baggins, was released. And in that time, Social Security and Medicare took up 20% of the national budget. And similar graphs exist for every Western country. Okay, and so when now 20% is quite a lot, actually. One out of every $5 goes to pay in 1970 went to paying for the keeping of old people alive, which is not bad. I'm pro keeping giving medicine to the elderly and other people that qualify for Medicare, because it's not just elderly. I am pro that. I don't think many people are against it, honestly. It's just that at some point it becomes, hey, this is a rather big bill. Could we do anything to pay for it better, cut the cost? And the answer to that is apparently no, because when people don't have children, but they keep wanting the same or more benefits in medicine and Social Security, what happens is people get older and there's not enough young people in place to pay for it. And people go, but I paid into Social Security and Medicare all my life, so I should get it. And it's not a problem. It's not a problem. Cavi, tell us about do you have a similar thing in Canada? Do people act like this where you're at in Canada, talking about how they all just deserve everything all the time and everything? Is that a thing that happens there?
Yeah, talking about deserving everything all the time, absolutely. We have like the socialist medical system though, so that is a little bit different, but also probably exactly the same, because somebody's paying for that.
Right. Now,
But
hold on. Yeah. Yes. Sorry.
I don't want to derail your whole where you're going with this, but why can't we did a whole episode on modern monetary theory? So why can't the government just print money to pay for all this?
It can, if people believed in monetary theory. It's all belief based. I was hoping you would bring that up. Yes, you if you want to listen to the episodes of modern monetary theory, you can, and you'll have the same question Cavi did. But because people have a need, like for example, every year, this is for the exact same reason, people freak out about the deficit spending, and I tell people it actually isn't a problem at all. It's not it's only a problem, but they come up with caps and they make all these things that are completely irrational. They have no bearing in reality. But because people cannot get out of their heads that money is completely fake, totally made up, and therefore laws of physics and laws of supply and demand don't actually apply to it, because it is just a fiction you made up. They insist on treating it that way. And there is an argument that if people did realize what it was, it would stop working, which that very well may be true. It depends on people believing it, but that's why you could, under what I think is correct economic theory, this would be fine, except that people refuse to operate in that way. So yeah, so when you get now in the year 20, this graph only goes up to 20. It's projected up to 2084, but now in the year, let's say 2024, we're approaching that being about half of our spending, Social Security and Medicare. So 50% of every tax dollar goes to keeping old people alive, and there's not enough children beneath them to make that happen. This is why, by the way, euthanasia has become so popular, because the governments are like, listen, we can't afford them. What if we just kill them? Is what they say. What if we make a nice program? What if we have a nice propaganda campaign to say how it's empowering and so forth and so on? And we would just kill them, because we cannot afford all these people. We have to. I mean, it's so much cheaper if the healthcare is just injecting them with a lethal injection. That's so much cheaper. Imagine how much money, if someone has a disease and let's say they have kidney problems and need dialysis, and they live for 10 more years after they start this. You know how expensive 10 years of dialysis is? It's insanely expensive. Not to mention all the other things they have to have. In fact, I think I wish I had this, but there is like, it's a non-significant amount. I think it is one out of every. It's a crazy number because this number on Medicare is mostly dialysis. Weirdly enough, it's like one of the most common things, and so it comes out to be like something like 30 cents of every dollar, maybe not that much, but it's close, that is acquired by income by taxes goes to paying for someone's dialysis. It's crazy. It's a crazy number. So what do? Well, what you do is you say, we know that the old people are the largest contingent and they vote, and that cutting Medicare or Social Security or just having a widely open euthanasia program where we encourage them to die openly is very unpopular and will get voted out. How do we keep this? How do we keep this scheme going? Mass immigration. And yes, there is nefarious people behind mass immigration that do it because they hate white people and so forth and so on. But it is able to happen because economically, someone got to pay for this. We need someone that isn't 100 years old has to live in the country. And we need more people, not 100, than there are 100 to make this work. If someone retires at 65 and they live to be 95, like Shatner is, and he's still going strong, he may live to be over 100, no problem. That's 30 plus years of Social Security for one person. It's a huge draw, right? If life expectancies go up even more, it's like, this is a lot of money.
So
go ahead.
Can I interrupt for a sec? As a Canadian here who doesn't really know what this is, what is Social Security? Because don't you have insurance in the States that pays for everything? Is this like free
Social
money
Security
that pays for stuff?
Yeah, hold on. Oh, where have I've dropped. Oh, good. Anyway, Social Security is kind of like, what did I do? Do you see this? Okay, I just hit a button.
Okay, you're back to normal.
Yeah, I just hit a button.
Now you're good.
I'm hitting so many buttons, Cabby. That's the problem with me. I'm always hitting buttons. Social Security is kind of like a retirement program for everybody. So you pay into Social Security, and then when you are of retirement age, you can pull out the money from Social.
And it's just free money?
Yeah, it's like
so you don't have to use it for medical expenses. You can use it for anything.
Yeah. Yes, it's kind of like
okay. We have the Canadian Pension Fund.
Yeah,
Canada.
it's a pension. It's a pension fund, basically.
Yeah, they take money from all my taxes every year.
Yeah. Is there any
is there
any technical difference?
The main thing then, though, is that you don't have to only spend it on healthcare, but I guess that's probably what a lot of old people are spending it on.
Yeah.
But again, didn't Obamacare force everybody to get insurance?
Yes, kind of. I want to look up. There's actually a technical definition of what Social Security is, and it matters. I forget the name. Technical. Let's see, what is Social Security technically? It's a federal social insurance program, and then there's old age survivors. Yeah, it's a monthly income. Yeah, it's multiple things. I forget. This isn't the exact thing. There's like an exact a technical definition of what it is, and it has that distinguishes it from a pension exactly. But it's a kind of insurance, but it's also like retirement, disability, and so forth. Anyway,
free money from the government, basically. Then.
Yeah. So, and I should have looked that up before. There's like a specific thing, and that's like there's a big difference between that and the pension and why these things work out different. But it's sort of the same. Anyway, Yeah, we had Obama, and then people kept messing with it, and then it turned out that it just kind of nothing happened. Like there's a great Trump clip where he said they're getting rid of Obamacare, which is good, except they're only keeping the bad parts. And so yeah, they passed Obamacare, and then they sort of went back and said, well, no, but not really, and then this and that. So um, what there is a health insurance marketplace now where you can buy health insurance from the government, uh, and instead of like from a Blue Cross or something. What is the main insurance? Oh, well, you don't have them up there. It's just the government.
We
But the
have yeah, we have a weird thing because we have the free medical, but it doesn't cover a bunch of random things like dentist is not covered, so you're gonna have to get insurance from your work or buy your own for that, or just pay out of
Do
pocket.
you have Blue
So
Cross up there?
yeah,
Okay.
so random like little things won't be covered, but then like other things will be. Like I think uh pretty much any disease related thing is like completely covered.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah.
Yeah. So again, if everyone was like, "Hey, we understand this problem, and people are going to pay for their own stuff. They're not going to get crazy mad at the government and the politicians when there isn't enough money for paying for their dialysis or their cancer treatment when they're 87, and they have to figure out some other way to pay for it or something, or rely on the charity of others, but they didn't have any children, so there's not a lot of people that are related to them that care enough about them at the moment. If everyone was responsible, it wouldn't be a problem at all, and everyone could live the child-free life and have one kid or none and paddleboard around on a lake like this girl's doing, and it wouldn't be a problem. But it is a problem because they're not going to do that. And lest you cast stones at the boomers, none of these people are of the mindset to do anything different when they get old. They will be exactly as insufferable. They're not going to have kids, and they're going to say, "But you need to pay for everything." So don't. This isn't just the boomers. It is. It's a general. Again, it's holding space for your problem. Yes, the boomers have their problems, and they you know what, they're accountability resistant too, but millennials, Gen Xers, we're all holding space for our own problems right now. Okay? All right? We're all in a circle. We're holding hands. We've all got Lululemon on, and we are holding space for the problems in this lilac scented room. Now in 2008, there was, of course, the housing crisis, which the US economy, and therefore the world economy, is propped up by people think that fiat currency means backed by nothing, and that is true in a way. It's also backed by something, which is debt, the promise to pay for it in the future. We've done episodes on this many times, but a lot of that debt, a tremendous amount of that debt, is held in mortgages. It's like the pillar of the economy, is people being in debt for their house. And so that's when, in 2008, when people in mass defaulted on it, largely because of race relation stuff, because people had this whole program to what do you call it, housing equity, to provide loans to more minorities and so forth and so on. But the problem was that meant that a lot of the people they gave them to, they started giving loans out to minorities just because they were minorities, even though they weren't on paper able to pay for them. And that happened for a while, and then it all collapsed when people realized they couldn't pay. Okay, that's a problem. Again, no one ever learns anything, and they never will. You have to get that out of your head right now. Just like Tolkien. Tolkien thought he could. No, people will never, ever learn. By the time people learn, they're pulling Social Security and then they die. They may have learned something by the time they're 83, 89. But but then they die, and the new crowd comes along, and they have none of the lessons. People don't live long enough to learn things that they need to learn. Okay, you just have to. People are just going to be what they're going to do. So in 2000, and then basically what they've done, and I should have our dear friend on, the Orthodox homeopath, Reinhardt, who was on some episodes back. He's also a very smart finance sort of fellow, and in fact, made much of his money that he currently has, at least to my understanding, from being an early adopter of Bitcoin and other such things, and playing the markets that way. But he can explain it a lot more eloquently than I can and actually cite the laws. But essentially what happened was after 2008, they passed a bunch of laws that basically made it impossible for that to happen again. The housing prices are kind of set to never go down. So if you want a house, buy it now. This is not financial advice, except I guess it's not by any certified. This is a guy's opinion. Okay. But I think this is what I would do. If you don't have a house, buy it now because it ain't going to get cheaper. Buy it somewhere out away where you can afford it because the housing price will only go up. Housing prices have been going up almost since then, since the quote unquote recovery of the financial crisis, and they will not come down. Now, see this graph here, people were expecting the next mortgage crisis because there's a graph of home prices and mortgage delinquency rates. And people thought, oh, the home price, look how high the home prices are. That means that the collapse is coming because look, it's done this in the past. Anytime housing, but no, this was in 2018, almost 10 years ago now. And this green line has only gone up and up and up and up and up. And it's just going to go up more because the laws have changed to make this kind of impossible, which is hard to describe. But basically, if someone defaults, the government steps in and just buys it now and makes it just floats it forever. But then to do that, you have to it's this whole complicated scheme. But basically, housing can never go down again because if it does, the whole world economy collapses, which is obviously not tenable. And one of the ways that you support that is you have to make housing prices go up forever, and you do that by increasing the demand by flooding the country with foreigners because no one had babies. And it all goes back to people want to sacrifice nothing. It all goes back to people that's the whole thing. People want to not reproduce themselves and also have everything in the future, even when they're too old to work and provide for it for themselves. And so this is all just selfishness. This is all driven by personal selfishness. This is the girl boss who wants to paddleboard and never have a baby because she's more self-actualized than to be above animal instincts of reproduction. Okay? Does that make sense, Kathy?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you get a lot of girl bossing paddleboarders in Canada? I imagine you probably do.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Women love to paddleboard. I like paddleboarding too. It's nice. But I don't know. It's one of those things.
Lots of nice lakes here.
Yeah, lakes are great. Can you paddle on Lake Louise? Or is that
I believe so.
I never saw anybody
on there.
Okay. I didn't know if it was like I didn't know if they wanted to keep the water pretty, so they didn't want people like out in it. But anyway, so there are two choices. And these two choices are not imposed by men or patriarchy, but by just simple reality, how things work. Number one, you can be child-free. You can have free time, you can travel, you can girl boss. You can accept a declining population and the austerity which comes with that, declining social services, wealth, and status as a nation. Because in a large part, almost all of the most powerful countries are also the places where you have a lot of people. The U.S. has over 300 million people. That's a lot. Not as much as China, but if China only had 1 million people, it was the exact same culture, it would be nothing on the map because there's not enough people to do anything with. They have allegedly around close to 1 billion. Same with Russia and so forth. And even Brazil. Brazil is it doesn't do anything. It's kind of a failure, except there's just so many of them. By weight of sheer quantity, they matter, right? Because as Napoleon said, quantity is a quality all its own. They were making one of my favorite quotes. Another general was mocking him for having because he popularized conscription of the just peasants, giving them a gun and saying, go fight. And some of his opponents said, your army is big, but it's very low quality soldiers. And he said, quantity is a quality all its own, which is very true. And the second option is you can have kids, responsibility. They will cost money. Your career may be put on hold. You get expanding population, increase in social services, wealth, power, and status. Okay, those are the two options. And it's not imposed by the patriarchy or anything. It's just if you don't have, that's just how the world works. Okay. And so you've got this lady here. She's a nice red-haired lady. She's happy. She says, I want a major say in how society is run, but I don't want to propagate that society biologically. That's sexism. She also says citizens have no responsibility to create the next generation. That's logic. See, this is the thing. Actually, if you can, that's a selfishness. We're supposed to be involved in a society here. I'm George Costanza. We live in a society. One of the great Jews, George Costanza. Not as good as William Shatner in my opinion, but Jason Alexander, one of the great Jews. We live in a society here, Jerry, right? And in a society, if you want it to continue, so you're supposed to care about it, not just yourself. You have to make the next generation, because you're not going to live forever. Like, it can't just be you forever. You have to make. And so actually citizens do have a responsibility to create the next generation. They actually do, right? That's like a very easy both men and women, but we're holding space for your problem. This is a major. I don't know why people don't bring this up. Like, no, actually, like, if you want to have a say in how society runs, you have a responsibility to also keep it going. You just do. It's not even arguable. If citizenship means anything, it means you have a responsibility to continue it, right? If French people don't have babies, France stops existing. Now, if you say that's not my problem, oh, fine. I'm not asking you to care about it. I'm just saying, if you don't care about it, you don't have a right to be a citizen. This is the thing, right? If you don't care that your society keeps going, then you don't have a right to be a contributor to it, because it's supposed to be not just about you, but your contribution to the whole. And one of those things is, okay, well, when I get too old to work, there needs to be people after me. And if you just go, well, I'll just steal them from Mexico, that's not really a solution, is it? Here's an inverted population graph. Right now, most people in the USA are in their 50s and 60s, which is not where you want them to be. You want them to be more people down in the lower bits. That's how you have a growing society. And actually, beyond citizenship argument and like social morals, there's a moral imperative sort of spiritually which I'll get into, to procreate. Here's some women. These women they look, how would you describe these women, Cavi?
Very average.
Well, they've got a certain look to them, though. It's like they're trying
Frumpiness.
What now?
A little bit of frumpiness.
Yeah. It's like that thing women do when they're trying to protest, I guess, the male gaze, and they just try to look purposely frumpy. I think these women are all look more frumpy than they normally would if they weren't trying to be frumpy. Anyway. So if you say, no, Sumo, it's okay, we'll just steal fertility from brown people. Well, you got to think about that for a second. What you're saying then, this is like this, it's so crazy when people talk about like mass and the fact that, you know, the Pope and the Archbishop of Canterbury and no one ever brings this up because they're cowards or they're stupid, one of the two. But what you're saying is all the people that are supposed to work and provide for the old people in those countries, I'm going to steal them and make them provide for me. That's what you're saying. That's what you're doing. You're saying, hey, all those Mexicans who should be there to support the economy and growth of Mexico so that people in Mexico who've lived there their whole lives can thrive and that economy can thrive and the people, what you're doing is saying, no, I'm going to steal them. And then what? And there's two options there. Either they are all the cream of the crop and they're engineers and doctors and they're going to greatly benefit our economy, in which case you've stolen all the doctors and engineers from Mexico or Guatemala or whatever, and they don't get to have them anymore, impoverishing them intellectually and, hamstringing their growth. Or they're not, and they're a bunch of stupid people that are going to be that are going to drag down our economy. There's no good way. It doesn't work out well either way. Right? When you do this and say, I don't want to accept any austerity at all for not having children, I just want to be on a paddleboard and I want everything to be the same. And my solution is I'm going to steal all the children from Mexico to work for me in my old age, which is what you're doing. Because listen, Social Security and Medicare, you never pay into it. It's a lie. The money you have on your taxes that go into that right now is immediately sent to pay for the people on Social Security and Medicare now. It doesn't go into a savings bond for you with your name on it. It goes into a pot that is immediately all spent. And what you're saying is these Mexicans or these Arabians or wherever are going to pay for me because I wanted to paddleboard. Right? And I don't care if Morocco doesn't have any people to support their economy anymore. I get it. And in 100 years, I guarantee you this will be used not for no reason as another guilt trip on white people that say you stole all the reason our countries are impoverished is because you stole all the productivity workers for like generations. And they will be right because white people, listen, I love white people. I do. But they cannot just not use brown people for things. They just pick your own cotton. They refuse. They refuse to pick their own. They refuse to have their own babies. And they always come up with some mental gymnastics for why they're morally superior for doing it. I don't know why. They just do. No matter what they do, they're always using brown people to give them more money and to do labor and stuff. I mean, I'm not, at least I acknowledge it. My grass is mowed by Mexicans. They're great. You know, they're all the grass people they're Mexicans. The people that work at the shop, they're Indians or whatever. All the white people are like, oh, ba-doo. That's just how it works out. You know, who was it that said when Donald Trump was first being elected on The View? She said, who's going to clean your toilets, Donald Trump, if we get the Mexicans out? Who was that? Dick Cheney's daughter, right?
I don't know anything about the women on The View, and I'd like to keep it that way.
Yeah, it's fair. I mean, I like Whoopi. Whoopi's on The View. And you know what? Joy Behar, she's fun. I think they're kind of silly and they don't know.
Oh, it was that guy who bit the head off the bat. His daughter said that, didn't she?
Yeah. Ozzy Osbourne's daughter.
Yeah, I can't remember any of their names.
I don't know. It doesn't matter. But I'm saying, hey, Whoopi, if you're listening, if someone knows Whoopi, please pass this to her. I would love to have Whoopi on the show. She was on Star Trek, by the way, as Ganon. And she was great. Although I never quite understood what her species was supposed to be. I don't think anyone did. They were kind of empathic, but also telepathic, but also they had magic. I don't know.
I thought they were kind of like a lesser Q.
Yeah, they're kind of like a lesser Q. I don't know. They were strange. But she never did any like big magic powers that I can remember. I don't know. Anyway, Whoopi, I'm fine with Whoopi. You know, just The View is, they get a little hysterical, and hysterical comes from the same root as hysterectomy. It means uterus. If you're hysterical, it's like a thing of like women act this way, and they do. They get upset, and then they hysterically say, "Hey, you know what we need is 300 million Arabs, because I'm with a paddleboard, right?" Again, yes, men are also the problem. You could go into all kinds of things about like, well, if men commit, again, feel the Lululemon and smell the lilac. We're holding space for your problem. Yes, other people are also contributing, but this is for you. Okay, this is to sit down and wrestle with your problem. And so the bitter truth is, a significant chunk of women have always kind of hated their kids and still do. I wish that wasn't true, but it is true. And you see this throughout history. Women have never really been fans of, not true. That's unfair to say women in that huge of a number. A significant chunk of women, as I said up here, have deeply resented being mothers because motherhood is challenging and takes a lot of time, and you can't paddleboard as much. You just can't paddleboard as much if you have an infant. Although if you can, it just, you have to be like, we used to put our kids when they were little on the front of the paddleboard, and then we go, and yes, sometimes they knocked you off because they weren't as good at balancing, but that's fine. Like here's a book about wet nursing, daycare. Here's Mary Poppins. It's not a new problem. Victorian women loved having nannies. Loved it. Oh, if I could just get a dumb Irish woman, a dumb poor Irish woman to come in here and take care of these brats for me. And all that's happened kind of is they replaced the Irish woman with a Mexican. I mean, legitimately, like that's what what are they doing? They're house cleaners. Mexican women are house cleaners in America, mostly. Same thing. It just got a little weird employing the Irish people because they look so similar. I guess they're white, kind of. So that seems a bit weird. What if we just had brown people? And that way there's a very visible difference in our economic social classes. And they just love doing it. They sort of have never wanted to be around their kids. I mean, the whole point of Mary Poppins, isn't she out? The mom is out like protesting for women's rights and women's voting. And she spends the whole thing not even knowing her kids are like flying around with some magic witch, which is a great metaphor, isn't it? Modern women obsessed with doing everything but raising their kids, having no idea that their kids are getting into demonic witchcraft with Julia Roberts. Or they send them off to get daycare and you go, oh, we have to afford it. A lot of it is just because they don't want to do it. Look, a lot of it is just because they don't want to do it. Full stop. They've hated breastfeeding, all of that. Women are incredibly interested in outsourcing the caring of their kids so they can do other stuff. They just are. It's I call this the motherhood myth. I don't know. Did you hear a Cavi growing up about the motherhood instinct, and like the maternal, all that stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's not true. It doesn't exist. I mean, it exists, but postpartum depression, no one will say this, I will say it, is largely a hatred towards the child because it now has significantly constrained and restricted your own freedom. When you're pregnant, you can be like, oh, I'm cute, I'm pregnant, everyone's looking at me, and I still go about and do my stuff. But when you've actually had the baby, like, now I gotta care for it, and now I'm not cute anymore, now I'm haggard, and now no one is people. Here's a billboard. It says protect the babies. It's a pro-life. I don't like the word pro-life because every time people say pro-life, you go, oh, you're not pro-life because you didn't paint my house, which is what the arguments always come down to. Like, oh, you say you're pro-life, but you're not pro more expanded Social Security or whatever. It's like, no, I just don't want you to murder baby. I'm anti. It's an anti-baby murder stance. Is what it is. And over it, someone has written the words in graffiti, "Kill them kids." There are in America, just America, about 1,126 abortions per year that are done legally, like in a clinic, in a professional setting. Significantly more that are done in not medicalized ways, where you drink a lot or whatever. And I've got a little picture of a black woman here with a little PowerPoint graphic knife pointed at a PowerPoint graphic baby. It's a lovely image. But women really, there's a not insignificant chunk of womanhood which is dedicated to hatred and resentment toward your own offspring. I'll throw you a bone here. Yes, a huge chunk of fatherhood does that too. You're not alone here, but again, your problem. Also, women aren't actually confused about the gender stuff, really. When you see a lot of women with like trans kids, some of them are legitimately confused, but a lot of it is they just hate the father of their kids and they want to destroy the children to get back at them. That's true. That's just what it is. A lot of it. I'm not saying this woman is doing it. I think that's Charlize Theron. I'm not sure. Not saying she's doing it, but I'm saying a lot of women harm their children to get back at their father. 100%. And I think all women kind of know that. And again, here's that picture of Goku with women dodging accountability, and he's labeled women. And they say all kinds of things about this. They say I was coerced into it by my family and boyfriend, and had no choice. I couldn't afford it. No, you weren't. Okay, and if you were, The A, no, you weren't. You made the choice and you kind of did it because you hated them. And maybe you were, I get it. There's lots of emotions, but also one of those emotions you're feeling is hatred. Yes, there's fear, and there's uncertainty, and there's pressure. One of them is also hatred, okay? One of them is also evil. That's okay. That's, it's not okay, but I'm not judging you. I also have evil in me. Just it's what it is. A, no, you weren't. But B, if you were coerced into doing this, then we can't trust you with decisions. And you can't be, if you can be so easily manipulated into harming kids, you shouldn't be voting. Right? Women are undercutting their own, because every time they say, but every time anything comes at them about accountability, they go, I couldn't help it. I'm just a girl. And they twizzle their hair. And they go, I don't know what to do. Everyone was pressuring me. Well, then why are we trusting? Like, you can't have it both ways. Either you're an adult with agency who does right and wrong and has the capacity to acknowledge when they did wrong and maybe change. Although I'm not asking that today. We're just sitting, just filling the space. Or you're not an adult and you don't, and then you shouldn't be participating in society in any kind of leadership way. Right? You can't have it both ways. You can't be like, girl power, we need to make all the decisions. And then if something goes wrong, I'm just a girl, I'll spin my hair. You can't do that, right? That doesn't make any sense. The maternal instinct largely does not exist. I should have put largely. It does exist in some, but in a lot. Here's, as a collective, not individually, not you, people sitting there going, oh, not me, I not my friend. Fine. But as a collective, politically, internationally, the only thing women care about is the ability to kill their kids. Here's a picture of people protesting that. And that's pretty much the only thing. As a collective, women are evil. Men are too. Yes, I get it. But we're sitting with your evil. People are evil. This is like people have a deep brokenness inside them. And it doesn't go away just because you're a woman. Okay? You're not evil just because you're a girl. Okay? The only thing they care about is the ability to cure children, and I guess being whores, being prostitutes. They also politically care about that. That's it. Here's a great book called 7 Reasons Why I Hate My Mom by Barbara B. Pearson. Experiences of adult children of narcissistic and emotionally immature parents. Women are actually capable of profound manipulative cruelty, is a thing I wrote here. And they engage in that profound manipulative cruelty all the time. And all women know this. You've all been victims of the manipulative cruelty of other women. Don't pretend like it's not a thing, and again, it's not actually citizenship. If your whole thing is like, we need to kill the next generation, that's okay. It's just not, you don't have an understanding of what citizenship is about. Actually, you don't. Women politically make the greatest argument for the abolition of the 19th Amendment that anyone could ever dream up. If you'd have gone to the original suffragettes and said, listen, the main thing after you guys get the vote that you're going to do is do abortion and the ability to be webcam models and sex workers, they'd have said, first of all, they'd have denied it and they'd have done the Goku thing and dodged all the punches. But then they'd have said, that can't possibly be. But now here it is. Okay. Another thing that doesn't exist is the idea that historically women were quote unquote forced into prostitution. It's not true. OnlyFans proves it, as does everything else. I've got some screen caps here. This one's from 4chan. It has a picture of the OnlyFans. It says this website completely debunked the myth that women are victims of the porn industry and were forced into it. I remember how 10 years ago, this idea was quite prominent among the anti-porn red pillars. Right. Because as this other poster noted, OnlyFans wasn't even a porn platform originally. It was just supposed to be another Patreon. But because Patreon made porn banned, you couldn't sell it, right? So it didn't happen. OnlyFans didn't have that ban, and women just flocked organically to it without anyone making them. No one made them. They did it in the millions. They flocked there and started prostituting themselves online. They made it happen. It wasn't the Jews. Yes, there was for a time a Jewish CEO, but he didn't force all the women to do it. It wasn't the Jews. It wasn't, they did it themselves. Okay. And yeah, again, would there be the porn site if there wasn't a buyer? No, men are the buyers, but also, there's the sellers. It's a two-way street. Yeah, the drug market people wouldn't die of fentanyl if no one bought drugs. Also, if no one sold it. Both ways, okay? Here's a bunch of Mexican prostitutes on the Day of the Dead that definitely don't need to have to be prostitutes. None of these women have to be prostitutes. Yeah, it may be the easiest way they can make money. Hey, there are easier way. I could sell drugs. That'd be an easier way for me to make money. You could steal stuff from people. Yeah, sure. There's lots of but the easiest way to make money isn't always the most moral good option. Okay, you don't have to do this. Anyone that says they have to be a prostitute, unless you've been kidnapped by someone and human trafficked in the back of a van and thrown into a room and said you have to do this or we're going to kill you or whatever. Those people are innocent and they're victims. But if you're just choosing to do it, I get that you're economically on hard times, maybe. Although a lot of the women on OnlyFans aren't, and a lot of the prostitutes in America aren't. But people can be on hard times without resorting to doing things they shouldn't. Okay. The trad delusion is that women were forced into it. And not true. Here's there's this game, A Knight's Path, and they posted some pictures of women from their upcoming game. And someone, said, why her breasts out though? She's wearing a low cut sort of dress in the medieval style. And he said, because medieval women also knew how to boost engagement. And then a Catholic, I pointed this out. This is a trad guy. He's got a Vatican flag in his bio. Would the priest and likely her own parents not reprimand her for it? And that is completely, people have this belief. What people think about when they think about back in the day, Christian morality is almost entirely the Puritans. The Puritans did not have brothels. They were the only ones. Catholics loved brothels. The Lutherans loved brothels. Prostitution in Anglican England had brothels. Okay. The only ones that didn't were the Puritans. And what you're projecting back in time is Puritan ethics. Actually, in the medieval times, Catholic countries, because before the Reformation, everyone was Catholic, had state-run brothels. They were licensed by the state. You had the matron of the brothel was paid by the county. And here's some artwork from the times of them doing that. Just like they had these little stalls, they had their own little house, and you could go by and you just point at the girl you wanted and you go inside. And every single one of them almost was there voluntarily, just like they are now. Do you have a lot of brothels in Canada, Kathy?
No, I think it's technically illegal.
Right.
But I looked up this Knight's Path game, and interestingly enough, one of the screenshots they have on their Steam page is a knight fighting a giant snail.
Yeah.
Which is like, what's up with all the giant snails in medieval art?
Yeah.
They put it in this game, apparently.
Yeah. It looks like a fun indie game. I don't know. But, it's just that women they just like it. Okay. That's the only thing you can do. Women do this on purpose because it's an easy way to make money. And also they like being sex objects. People that don't turn me into sex. Women love being sex objects. They love people lusting after them. I get it. They do. They do it all the time. No one forces them to do this on Instagram or whatever. They do it of their own free will. Women fight almost as hard for the right to be prostitutes as they do to kill their children. Almost. Not quite. Keep your laws off my body. Sex work is work. My body, my choice. Rights, not rescue. I don't need rescue. I'm a sex worker and I need the right to work. It's my choice. Here's an academic article of a feminist argument on how sex work can benefit women. They love it all the time. They do it. It's their favorite thing. Also, sex work is a really stupid phrase. No one, I don't think anyone's disputing that it's work. Like it's a thing that you do as a labor to get money. I don't think that's ever been in dispute. It's that some work is immoral. Like being a hitman is also work. I'm sure it's pretty difficult to kill people and not get caught and get paid for it. I'm sure there are people out there in this world who are hitmen and they kill people for money. And I'm sure that is also work. That's also work. This is the stupidest phrase. Selling drugs is also work. Developing algorithms on a computer to figure out how to spy on people so that you can deny them health care because of their pre-existing conditions is also work. And it's real hard. It takes a lot of effort. There's lots of things. Bombing children in Gaza is work. There's lots of things that are work that people on the payroll are for. That's not moral work, right? That's a problem. Just because it's work doesn't mean it's good. It's the stupidest phrase. Are you familiar with this thing of Santa Claus saving the 3 women from prostitution? Cavi. Is Cavi gone again? Am I gone? Or any of us gone? Cavi, are you there? He probably went to the bathroom and has his headphones in. And he does this all the time. He goes to the bathroom. He has his headphones in, and then he comes back and says, I can't do it. I'm just going to assume that I'm still going. You know what? Let's sit and wait on him for a minute. Let's just make it awkward for him personally.
Again, the second I step away, you immediately go, you're talking, and I'm like, now is the perfect time to step away for 2 seconds. And the second we
always have to be, Spock was always at his little thing going, brr, brr. He was never absent, except when he was on Ponfar.
I was like, do I have to put up a little note or something? I'm like, he's monologuing. I'm good.
Do you remember Ponfar?
I do.
That kind of ties in. In Star Trek lore, the Vulcans they go through this process to purge themselves of all emotion, including like sexual arousal. However, they can't suppress it totally. So once every 7 years, they go into heat basically, and all the Vulcans have to mate, or they have to have sex or they'll die. And so they go, and if they want the same Vulcan girl, they fight to the death over it. It's this ridiculous. One of the few episodes where Leonard Nemoy had to show emotion. Anyway, that's kind of like Cavi. He was also in Ponfar. Anyway,
every day is Ponfar.
Are you familiar with Santa Claus and the 3 girls?
No, I'm not. This is new.
Okay, so here's a picture of Santa Claus in like the red coat, the Coca-Cola version. And then behind him is St. Nicholas in an old iconography. And he is famous for one of the things Santa Claus did in his life in what is now Turkey, when it was Greek speaking, is there were these 3 girls whose family fell on hard times, and he was going to sell them into servitude, as people did back then, because again, people kind of a lot of people have always kind of hated their children. And that meant they were probably going to end up as prostitutes. And so in the middle of the night, one of Santa Claus's first gifts is he came and he dumped a bag of gold in the window so they wouldn't have to do that. And it is, let me tell you something, it's entirely plausible that the 3 girls Santa Claus saved from prostitution hated him for it. 100%. 100%. Human nature doesn't change. Multiple times in their lives, when those 3 girls were fed up with their husbands, they probably said to themselves, I should have just been a whore. 100, like, I wish stupid Santa Claus. 100%. They were, when their children were screaming at them at what the equivalent was at 5 in the morning, not that they had clocks there, or 3 in the morning. They're like, I guarantee you they had such thoughts, because all people do. Okay, the trad delusion. This sort of like idea that people have that people couldn't think like that is ridiculous. So the maternal instinct does not exist. Women love being whores. They do. We've run the experiment and the results are in. You can't deny it anymore. This is just, we know what happens. Okay. And again, as I said, none of this is actually citizenship. That's part of the problem. There's an old thing, lie back and think of England. That was never actually a phrase. I'm not sure where that came from. It was never in history, but people think it was, much like they do the Handmaid's Tale. But the idea that was that when you talk like this, you're saying that women have to just have sex for the good of the country. And people find that repugnant. But again, in a citizenship, somebody has to do that because you're going to die. Like legitimately, like we can't all just paddleboard forever. Someone does actually have to reproduce. Somebody does. And if you think that's like a oppressive idea, you don't deserve to vote because it's stupid. Like if your thing is, I don't care what happens to the country after I'm gone, that's your prerogative. Great. But then you don't deserve to vote because you don't care about the country. You don't care about your society. Why should someone that doesn't care about their society have a say in how it goes? That's madness. It's madness to give a vote to people that don't care about the country or only care about it insofar as until they die. And then they're like, whatever. And after I'm gone, who cares? Right? Somebody has to lie back and think of England. Otherwise, there's no more England. Someone has to lie back and think of anything, of the human race. Otherwise, there's no more, like, right? I mean, something. And there's actually a moral imperative to procreate. Here are scenes from Spaceship Earth. Have you ever been on Spaceship Earth in Epcot, Kathy?
No, I've never been there at all.
You know what? We should take a field trip. If I paid for you and your wife to come to Epcot, would you come and we'll go?
Yeah, we absolutely would.
Excellent. We'll try to do that.
Okay.
The Epcot is my favorite of the Disney parks. It only exists in Disney World and not Disneyland. Because there's like you can see Disney's vision there in the beginning when you walk in, and there's like there's like 2 or 3 monorails that intertwine and come in all crazily. And there's that giant ball, and it really, for a second, looks like a mid-century modern vision of the future. You're like, this is kind of cool. And you walk in and you see, oh, and then Disney died, and people took over and made it into a weird something else. And and it's just kind of, you can kind of see in the architecture the moment Walt Disney died. It's kind of interesting. And you know, I don't really like theme parks, except that in fact, I kind of hate going. I hate going to Walt Disney World. It is hot. The lines are long. Same with Disneyland. But I am fascinated by the logistics of it in the most nerdy way possible. Because there's like underground tunnels of people moving around and shipping all the things. There are people that work there just dressed up as normal tourists to not break your immersion that you're there, and they don't want security to look like security because so there's like guys with like tucked tasers in their pants and tucked guns, but they're just dressed like, you know, regular tourists, and they mill around all day, and it's fun to try and spot them and see who's talking on an earpiece. It's a crazy logistical program they have going on there. Anyway, inside the big ball of Epcot is a ride that's very slow, and it's popular because Florida is very hot, and that's one of the few rooms that has like you can get in, and it goes real slow, and you're in there for like 15 minutes in nice air conditioning, and it goes through the evolution of the human species from cave people. So you have cave people scenes that you pass by, and then they're in ancient Egypt, and then they're in like Babylon, then Rome, and then some other place, and then I don't know. Then they get up to modern day. And, you know, every one of you women, men too, but this is for women. Every one of your ancestors going back to the dawn of time, whether you think that was Adam and Eve or something crawling out of the sludge, struggled, fought, and died to carry on the torch of life one more time. And you're saying, I choose to voluntarily drop the ball. I think that's actually immoral. I do. I think that is an immoral stance to have. I think that's the not saying that everyone has to have children in a society. No, there are people that can't for reasons that aren't there, like just have infertility, and that's not an issue. That's not like a moral issue. There are people that never find someone to be there's all these perfectly legitimate reasons to not have a kid. But the attitude that a lot of people have where I just don't want to, even though I could, think of all the women go your mother had a mother and her mother had a mother going back to the first mother, who was, I think, Eve, but some people think was a proto monkey, whatever. My point is, think of all the times that it had to work out just so for you to get here. All the times the milk ran dry. All the times there was a famine. All the times she ran into a burning hut in the middle of the night to save an infant from a crib before it collapsed. All the times they ran away from the invading hordes. All the times that they jumped in the water to save their child to keep it from drowning. So many times this could have gone wrong. Infinite chances for the people that is the chain of you back to the beginning to die before they procreated, and it didn't happen, and you say, screw you, I'm not going to do it. It's just, that's what honor thy father and mother's about. Really, it is about taking care of them in their old age and like trying to live a way that they would respect and trying to honor their wishes and all that stuff too. But it is also like, hey, you are here because literally a chain of people back to the beginning of time tried. They tried to give, they thought enough of life to carry it on. And what you're saying when you're taking an antinatalist stance is you're saying, people gave me the gift of life and I do not want to share it. Okay, that's what it is. That's what it is. It is actually a moral problem. And people that do this, you know, there's just so many, just the women's side, so many mothers to get to you, mother after mother after mother, and they all had to do everything in their power to successfully raise their kid from a baby to a grown woman who could live on her own. And that is not easy, but they all did it. 100% of them did it. And you're just like, me, I don't care. You know, like I said, a chain of women going back to Eve or before, depending on your mythology. I mean, you know, I don't think it's before, but all sacrificed so you could live and you spit in their faces. That's fun. Okay. And it is a choice. Cavi, what do you think? What are you thinking?
About what?
Well, just give me your thoughts so far on all this. And from the Canadian perspective, give me the thoughts of what Tim Horton would say.
Tim Horton's probably old enough that he would want kids.
Yeah.
A lot of young people, like pretty much everybody I went to high school with, none of them wanted kids.
Did they end up having any, or did they change their mind later? Or
As far as I know, I'm thinking of people I know, and most of them don't have kids.
I know. So many of mine too. So many of my high school cohorts did not have children. And it's like, okay, then you can't. There's just, I mean, you know, it is a choice. People say it's not a choice, and there's all these other things. It's economic. No, here's a survey. Pew Research Center did this in 2024. The number one cited reason for why people 18 to 49 who do not have children and say they're unlikely to have them, 57% say they just don't want to. And this is why all the fertility things people talk about, because women will say, oh, well, if we had government-sponsored daycare, if we had incentives, tax incentives for children, if there were this and that, if there was mandated maternity leave, yada, 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 then it's all these things holding us back. No, it is not. It is not. That's a lie you're telling yourself. It's a lie you're telling everyone else too, but it's also a lie you're telling yourself. Mostly you just don't want them. I could never find a man to commit. Men need to step up. How can I start a family when it's so expensive? This is all a black woman saying this. Maybe if society supported women. Women are brainwashed and confused into not having children. It's Goku just dodging those punches. Woof, woof, woof. No, you're not going to touch me. I'm never taking responsibility. You know, just dodge it. Oh, they're so good at dodging. Here's John Cena. I put a man in here because I know, even though I gave the disclaimer at the beginning, I know the temptation is so hard to go, what about men? Yes, here you go. Look, here's John Cena. This guy has no excuse. He's handsome. He's filthy rich. He speaks fluent Chinese. And he said, I don't want to make an irresponsible choice and bring a life into the world that I will neglect. He knows he would neglect. He wouldn't care about it. He wouldn't care. How do you feel about this quote thing people are doing? Have you noticed they put the quotes at the beginning, just the beginning and ending quote, and then just put it under it? I've seen this a lot lately. I don't know.
I haven't seen the double quote. I usually see a single quote at the top.
Yeah.
And I've done that. I haven't seen two quotes at the top.
Yeah. And so all these things that women do that people say, they have the nuclear war was the thing in the 80s. Having children on a dying planet. We can't have reproductive justice without.
But what the heck is climate justice?
I know. It doesn't make any sense. People just like the word justice and they put it on things. I want you to learn the lesson of the golden doodle. The golden doodle. My dog is a golden doodle dog. And I thought that dog, we bought the dog. My wife was under the impression because her sister has a golden doodle as well. But apparently they're slightly different if you have a male poodle father or if the father is the golden retriever. Kind of like a liger and a tigon. A liger is a male lion and a female tiger, and a tigon is a male tiger and a female lion. And they produce noticeably different species when they interbreed. And in a similar way, although my wife's sister, my sister-in-law, has a golden doodle that is small, we bought one with the opposite pairings, unknowing this, and ours turned out to be a small giant of a dog, very tall. He's not a Great Dane or anything, but he's a lot bigger than we were expecting. And when we are over at my parents' house for a visit, this was recently. My mother has two dogs, and he's very interested in what they're doing because he doesn't have any other dog friends when he is at our house, and he wants to be around them and see what they're doing, and also eat their food and get any snacks they're getting. And they don't like him, and they start snapping him, so we keep him upstairs behind a gate. And like 70 times a day, somehow he gets around that gate. Somehow. I've never seen him do it. He waits till no one is watching, and he somehow gets around that gate. I don't know if he climbs. I don't know if he hops it. I don't know if he pushes it. I've put him behind doors, shut the door, and he just waits patiently. Someone will come through. They'll forget to shut the door. He's out. He's down the gate. I mean, 70 times a day, he escapes his confines. Despite putting literal physical barriers. And I know people have dogs like this too. If you want something bad enough, you'll have it. Because women will say, oh, I kind of want kids. Like wanting children in the abstract is different from wanting them to the point where you'll sacrifice a little bit to get them. My dog will do anything to get downstairs. Anything. Anything he can do. He will throw his body over things that he probably shouldn't, and they'll probably hurt him to try and get downstairs. I need to have something where if I figure out he's jumping over it, I need to, because it's not safe. I don't know if he's jumping over it or not. I have to figure out how he's doing it. But they'll do, he wants it so bad, but they don't want it. Okay. Everyone is actually just selfish. That's the solution. That's not, there's no saving the West, quote unquote, because it's full of just selfish people. It's so many selfish people. Okay. So many selfish women. What do you call this thing when a black woman has white splotches?
Yeah, I was just going to point out, you picked a stock photo of a woman with vitiligo.
Is that what it's called? They love this disease. Vitiligo. I don't know why. They love to put, there's probably maybe 1% of 1% of 1% of Africans that have this disease, and they are like 50% of the people in advertisements. I guess it's because it's half white, half black or something, even though it's not, but I think that's how people interpret it. It's weird. Not the disease, but the fact that people are so fixated on it. Kind of like having deaf people there's very, very few of them statistically, especially with cochlear implants now, but they insist on having a deaf interpreter on political speeches, even though it makes way more sense to actually just have text at the bottom, because deaf people can usually read English, and then you wouldn't have to do it. And also the English is a more direct interpretation of what they're saying, because ASL is very truncated speech. And
yeah, you don't get all those people who get caught faking it.
I know. But see, people do all this. They do what do you call it? Melalago? Is that what did you call this disease she has?
Vitiligo.
Vitiligo. It sounded like Mar-a-Lago, which I thought was humorous, but vitiligo. And they do deaf people because they think, oh, well, because they are so selfish, and they know they are in their heart. They know they are in their heart. And the way they deny that to themselves is they say, look at how open I am to I want deaf. I love all welcome refugees, welcome deaf people. You see, the reason that exists is as a way to deny your own selfishness by you put up things that don't actually cost you anything. It's no sacrifice of yours to put up a black lady with splotches, or to have no sacrifice whatsoever. It's very easy to be caring when it costs nothing. And that's what everyone wants to do. I'm caring if it costs nothing, right? But I love everyone, but don't dare interfere with my paddleboarding. Don't. That's the stance, right? And so this is why all these things people come up with, the effective fertility rates, don't happen. They don't do anything. Because nothing you can do can convince selfish people to have children. Here's the fertility rates in Europe. It's a map 2025. Let's see. The highest one is whatever that country is. Is that Macedonia? No. Is it? I don't know. My Eastern European country map is not high. I know there's Greece. What's that 1.62, Cavi? Above Greece.
I'm also going to guess Macedonia.
I think it's Macedonia. I don't know. 1.62. That's the highest. The replacement is 2.1. Anything below replacement, and you have to start flooding your country with foreigners, or accept austerity, and no one wants to do that. The lowest is Ukraine, and that, you know what? I'll give it to them. That's understandable at the moment. This is the only one that has a reason for being so low. They've been in a war for like 4 years now, and sure, that makes sense that their fertility rate is suppressed. But it's the only one on this list that has a reason. Only one.
Okay, that country is Bulgaria.
Bulgaria. Okay.
Which is right beside Macedonia.
Macedonia's over there. I know a lady from Bulgaria. And every time I see her name is Pavlina. I say, Pavlina, remember your KGB training. Because there was some movie where a stern woman said that. She reminds me of her. And she hates it. And she hates insinuating that she is in the Soviet bloc. But I do it anyway. And she's not, you know what? She's not a nice lady. She is a stern woman that should be in this. She would kill you so easily. You know, that's the thing about the people from those old Soviet bloc countries. Like when people complain about Putin, it's like, what do you want him to do? I'm not excusing it, but like, he's from the KGB and he's from a place run by gangsters. Like, yeah, of course. It's just what he knows how to do. He doesn't know how to do anything else, you know? France has 1.56, you know, not the worst, but a lot of that, again, is foreign people that aren't, you know, ethnically French. So you can't convince anything. And look, and all the things about people that, you know, you need, if we had mandated work leave, maternity leave, if we had government incentives, if they made childcare easier, if they spent money on education, we'd have more kids. No, Europe gives women these things in abundance, and you can give women everything they say they want / need to have kids, and they will have less. And that's on you, ladies. That sends a very mixed message, but it is true. We again, here it is. We know that this is true. Here's the top 10 countries with paid maternity leave. Estonia, 86 weeks. Slovakia, 58.6. Latvia, 56.4. Czechia, Check. 56.1. Slovenia, 54.6. Norway, 53.3. Germany, Deutschland, 52. Hungary, 46.4. Finland, 46.2. And Japan, 40.7. Keep in mind, a year is 52 weeks. So these are many of these are over a year. Germany's that's not bad. Here's spending on early childhood education and care as a percentage of GDP. Norway's at the top. Huge number. Sweden, Iceland, Denmark, yada, yada, yada. USA isn't even on this list as as one of the main spenders. I don't see it. No, it's not. And, look, USA has more kids than all of them. Way more. Way more. Like, this is the thing. Actually, the less you give women, the more children they have. Explain yourselves, ladies. This is on you. It's a very mixed message. You have what you ask for. You have less kids. People treat you worse, allegedly treat you worse. They don't cater to your demands as much. You have more. What are people supposed to take away from that? What are men supposed to take away from that? Right?
Especially since every civilization throughout history put strict controls on women's sexuality.
Yeah. Okay. Here's I made some graphs. As you can see, I made these in Excel. This is days paid leave versus fertility rate. This is total tax relief versus fertility rate. There's not really a strong correlation, but whatever correlation it is negative. It's kind of all over the place. It doesn't do anything, really. And the Financial Times ran a whole article on why family-friendly policies don't boost birth rates. They simply don't. We've ran the experiment. They do not do it. Here's a nice little, I like this map. The countries in pink will account for 50% of all the births in 2026.
To be fair, though, like, how much of that 50% is China and India?
Well, India, yes, but China only has about...
China, no, maybe.
Yeah, China only has, their birth rate is abysmal.
Yeah, they're having that problem, too, now, where all the young people don't want to have kids.
Yeah.
And then that combined with their generation being the one-child policy, like, China's population is going to be, wrecked in, 20 years.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The thing about that, China isn't a long-term threat to the West, simply because, again, they can be as smart and efficient as they want. If you don't replace yourself, it doesn't matter. India, yes. A lot of that's just because India has such a population to begin with. And you've got these African countries here with large populations, some in Indonesia, but also the USA. And the USA is not as populated as a lot of, especially per landmass. It just has a high fertility rate. And honestly, a lot of those are white people, which is why the future of white people is the USA. Because, USA alone will account for 2.77% of all the births in the world in 2026. China will do 6.51, but again, they have over 3 times the people in their country, and so we're pretty much tracking, and then India will account for 17.35, which is why there are so many Indians where you live. If the people that show up to the future are the future. It is that simple. The people that look, you can say Indians smell bad. You can say Indians poop in the stream. You can do whatever you want about Indians. They are not so selfish that they just want a paddleboard. Okay? And that is the truth. They are not yet. They may become so if they get enough taste of Western lifestyle. They are not so selfish. They just want a paddleboard and girl boss. Right? And that makes them the future, because that's all it is. The future belongs to those who show up. It is that simple. In 2026, in India, 17% of all the world's births will happen. That's why they're going to be everywhere in Canada and the United States and Europe. And because they're just making so many of them. White people spread across the world when they were having a birth rate like that of India. That's what happened. I mean, they were making so many babies. My grandmother was one of 6. I think I mentioned that before.
I met someone the other day. They were one of 11.
Yeah. Her mother was one of 9. My great grandmother was one of 9. And they had to wash clothes in a stream. I mean, the conditions were way worse. And they didn't just do it. This is a feminist talking, but they go, oh, well, they didn't have any choice and whatever. No, she actually loved all of her children. And I'm sure she got fed up with them as everyone else does. But it was, I'm sure they had some unplanned pregnancies in there for sure. But in general, her children were a choice that she made. And she was happy to do it. Not happy all the time. Okay. But that's how white people spread everywhere. Is they for like 100 or plus years, they were this Indian population growth. If you rolled this back to say 1830, the pink would be the UK and some of the Northern Europe countries, and they spread everywhere. And it's not because that's it. The future belongs to those who show up. Okay. And so Europe gives women everything they say they want, and they have almost no children. So what are men supposed to take away from that? All right, now I give you an out, ladies. I know you love to dodge responsibility. Let me help you. Liquid modernity is a thing came up with by Zygmunt Bauman, who is that lovely gentleman with the crazy the crazy hair.
That's exactly what I would expect him to look at, like, based on that name.
Zygmunt Bauman. He came up with this idea of liquid modernity, and it actually is a problem. Okay. Key features of liquid modernity are uncertainty and stability, fluid identities, individualism, consumerism, weakening social institution, instant gratification, and digital connectivity, globalization, and cultural fragmentation. Okay, so here's the big thing in liquid modernity is that identities and relationships do not have set definitions. And we see this so clearly by people being like, what even is a woman, right? What is that? People legitimately kind of don't know anymore. And that is the same thing with, like, what is a parent? What's a boyfriend? What's a girlfriend? What's the purpose of dating? What is the purpose of a parent? In liquid modernity, every relationship has to be renegotiated from scratch every time. And that is very emotionally taxing, time consuming, and difficult. And it's no wonder it doesn't work very well. So imagine this, you're looking for a spouse, you're dating around, hoping to find someone to spend your life with, maybe to have children with. But every single guy that you date, you have to renegotiate with it slowly, because you can't just, you'd have to be pretty autistic to come out the gate and say, what do you view as the role of husband and wife in a marriage? Yeah. Anyway, you have to renegotiate what you both think a marriage is for, what it looks like, what a wife is supposed to do, what a husband is supposed to do. Do you both do the same things? Is it fully equal? Is it a division of labor? Is there any, what about your parents? Or what is the role of a grandparent? How involved should they be? Should they be just off of what about siblings? How often do we do every single thing, every single time? There's no shared definition of any of these words and no shared expectation. And so you have to renegotiate it every single time. Here's a graph of people going through life cycle as kids, teenagers, young adults with kids, grandparents, like nuclear family or extended family. How much should we depend on the grandparents? What are marriage roles? Should we have kids? Why kids? What's the right age to get married? Who raises the kids? Where is our relationship going? What's the purpose of dating? Are we exclusive? Are we not? Is this how young is too young to date? Blah, 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 blah. What kind of relationships are appropriate? Should we teach little girls about dolls and babies, or is that sexist? And so if you have to question how every relationship you get into is going to work from first principles every time, that's pretty hard to rebuild. This is one of the big problems from a systemic, quote unquote. Yes, people are just selfish, but to the extent there are systemic problems, this is liquid modernity is the issue. The objection people give to this is infinite growth. They say, well, fertility should go up and down, and because you just want people to increase forever. And one of our dear friends in the group chat, like to say that infinite growth is the ideology of a cancer cell and so forth, which is fine. But I admit to you freely, I'm St. Augustine in the reverse. I have the inverse problem, St. Augustine, because St. Augustine argued that everyone should be celibate forever because he believed that I think it's in his City of God, which is absurdly long and mostly, I must say, kind of boring. But it's so long. He argues that celibacy is the highest calling because Jesus was celibate and all these other reasons. And he says, responding to his critics, he said, well, if we all did that, the human race would die away. And he says, good, period. It would hasten the coming of Christ. Fine. I have the opposite problem. If I'm arguing for fertility, people go, where is all the people going to be? Well, first of all, if there is space, and space as they do in as you see in movies like Interstellar or Project Hail Mary, you need a lot of people you're not going to get there. I'm very doubtful of that. But let's say there is. If there is space, you're going to need a lot of people. Are not going to just move there because they're going to move there because they ran out of room on Earth. And so I think we have to. If there is space, there's room for infinite growth. Just because there's infinite space. But two, the world's population concentrated. You shared this lovely graph. If people had the same population density as San Francisco, the entire world could fit, again, no more population densities than San Francisco, in Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, and Arkansas. If it was the population density of London, it would be New Mexico and those same states. Houston, you have to add a bit more. New York, just Texas. Paris, just Mississippi, Arkansas, and Louisiana. I wasn't aware. I would have thought London was more dense than San Francisco, but apparently no. So I don't really believe in sustainability, to be honest with you, for human beings. I think that, and I know that's a weird stance. I get it. I think actually, in some capacity, I'm not sure what, maybe space, maybe something else. The cosmos is to be filled with human beings in some way, maybe mystically, maybe literally. I don't know. Unfunded liabilities. Yeah, this is the biological reality. It's just the states covered in India because, again, 17.3% of all births in 2026 are in India. So the future belongs to those who show up, and good for them. Long live India. No kids for me, thanks. On this iPad means you run the movie Jeet on the other iPad, which is that's a movie Indians made called Jeet, like for short for Pajit. I didn't make it. It's not racist because they did it. This lovely white woman is an evolutionary dead end. I don't know if she actually is. This person in this photo may have 7 kids for all I know. I'm just saying. She's a stand-in. People can cope and seethe about it all they want, but an Indian who chooses to have kids is more evolutionarily fit than an Aryan Stacy who's selfish. Indian Stacy shall inherit the earth. Here's Usha Vance with J.D. Vance and their 4 kids. And she's saying, I will have the white man's babies. Imagine if it's an entire society raised on evolution deciding to voluntarily consign themselves to its extinction. Isn't that kind of weird? Have you ever thought about that, Cavi?
Yeah, it's a bit weird.
It's a bit weird. Like people that this idea that survival of the fittest just seems to engender in people like, well, I guess I'll just die. And it should.
You should be like doing the opposite and trying to go crazy.
Right. But
Elon Musk.
Yeah. Yeah. The limiting factor of population is never the available resources, but morality. And long live the Indian Stacy. That's the end. How'd you feel about that, Kevin? Do you think our women friends will be upset about this? I hope not. This was all done in love.
You were quite gentle. I've heard other people say similar things, much harsher.
I don't believe in being harsh. I'm not a Pastor Anderson person.
Just like everyone in the manosphere would be much more harsh about all that.
I know. I have sympathy because, as I said, it's not all their fault. I could make this presentation. Maybe I will.
Yeah, you could say it's men's fault for letting them get away with it.
Well, not even that. It's like, men also do not want to, men do not want to have children any more than women.
Men have their own problems for different reasons.
Well, I know a couple. Here's an example, and this is a pretty representative example. They have one child. Okay, that's better than none. And she wanted to have more, but he said, this is almost a quote, it would mess up my retirement. He's like 37. And I didn't say this to them, but that is the gayest thing I've ever heard. If a pretty girl wants you to impregnate her and you say at 37, I'm worried about my retirement, that is gayer than having gay sex. It 100% is. Like, what are you talking about? You're worried about so that's the selfishness aspect. I don't want another one because, I need.
What is he worried he's going to have less money?
Yeah,
wouldn't that help you in your retirement if you
he's
had
got
another
this whole
person to take care
financial
of you?
plan of like what targets he needs to hit by what age and like.
Yeah, but you have an extra
I
human to
know.
help take care of you.
It doesn't. Well, that's it. It's just gayer than having gay sex, and that's a lot of men too. Like I could make this whole other presentation, and maybe I will, about the problems of men and having, and men do not like to commit to women either. That's true. Men have a bunch of problems around. Men don't want children as much as women do in many cases, maybe even more. And they also get old and do not want to accept austerity. Yes, like all these things are also a problem. Okay, this is why I'm gentle with women, because it's not simply their fault. It is not. It's also men's fault. And I think it is genuinely about equal, but we have to be able, and all the criticisms that women make about how men are when they try to start families are mostly true. But also, there's times when women need to sit with I think men are better in general about taking the accountability punches. They're not as good at dodging because people don't buy it as much. If you're a girl, even other girls have sympathy for you when you say, oh, it wasn't my fault. No one has that about men. So they just learn to take punches. Anyway, maybe next time we'll talk about the guy that went to the moon, allegedly. Who was it in the what's his name? I could have
one of the later guys.
One of the later guys. One of the later guys. Edgar Mitchell. And swearing on a Bible that he went to the moon, but he also swore up and down that aliens landed in a yard next to him, and he talked with spacemen and the government hushed it up. I don't know. A bunch of weird stuff. Maybe we'll talk about that next time. Get back to some old alternate cosmology episodes after some heavier ones. But again, for all the women out there, happy International MAPSOC International Women's Day. You are loved. You are respected. Cavi is wearing his leggings, which lift and support each butt cheek. And we are all together in this circle of trust and love. Until next time, everyone. Bye-bye.